Who's actually going to get the most out of a 7-inch on-camera monitor? Is it the beginner, who just wants to see a clearer picture, the seasoned documentary shooter who needs daylight visibility, or the casual vlogger who's watching the price tag wobble? And, most importantly, does the Ultra 7 justify its cost for someone who isn't making a living off footage? Those are the questions I keep hearing when folks hover over the checkout page. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks mounting the SmallHD Ultra 7 on a couple of different rigs, a Sony a7 IV for street work, and a Canon C300 Mark II for low-light run-and-gun. What I found is that the decision to drop a $1,200 monitor into your bag isn't just about brightness. It's about how that brightness translates into confidence when you're pulling focus, and whether the interface actually lets you keep shooting instead of digging through menus. Let's start with the hesitation most of us feel. A monitor that promises 2,300 nits can sound like a marketing gimmick, especially if you've only used the little LCD on your DSLR. The real test is whether that brightness cuts through a sunny rooftop or a dimly lit club without washing out colors. On a bright afternoon, the Ultra 7 made the LCD on my Sony feel like a paper notebook. I could read waveforms and focus peaking from a distance of 3 feet, which is a game changer when you're trying to lock focus on a subject moving across a wide street. In contrast, on a dimly lit bar scene, the 10-bit color processing held onto subtle skin tones better than the camera's built-in screen, but the monitor's own backlight still felt a touch harsh. You'll need to dial the gain down to avoid a glowing look on the final footage. Now, who should actually consider adding this piece to their kit? If you're a freelance cinematographer who regularly shoots outdoors, weddings, concerts, real estate, the daylight visibility alone pays for itself. Those moments when you're perched on a balcony with the sun beating down, trying to confirm that your subject's eyes are sharp, are exactly why a 7-inch, high-brightness monitor shines. The Ultra 7 also integrates camera control, so you can adjust focus, iris, or even change lenses without touching the body. That's a huge ergonomics win for run-and-gun shooters who have to stay low or keep a hand on a stabilizer. On the other side of the coin, if you're a hobbyist who mostly films indoors or uses a smartphone rig, you might be better off with a cheaper on-camera display or even a phone-mounted monitor that plugs via HDMI. The Ultra 7's price point is steep enough that the extra brightness and touch interface become marginal benefits when you're not battling daylight. Likewise, anyone who relies heavily on a specific lens ecosystem that isn't fully supported by SmallHD's look-around camera control might find the feature more of a curiosity than a workflow enhancer. Let's talk practicality. The monitor's menu system runs on SmallHD's PageOS, which is essentially a stripped-down version of a smartphone UI. It's touch-responsive, but you'll notice a slight lag when you swipe between pages while wearing gloves, not ideal for a cold-weather shoot. However, the layout is logical. The first page is always your live view, the second houses focus peaking and false color tools, and the third gives you histogram and waveform overlays. Switching between those 3 pages takes about a second, and you can lock the page you're on so you don't accidentally toggle during a take. That level of friction is low enough that I never felt the need to pause and dig through submenus, which is a relief when you're on a tight schedule. Battery confidence is another area where the Ultra 7 both impresses and disappoints. The unit runs off a single 2S L-type battery that gives roughly 3 hours of continuous use at full brightness. If you're shooting a half-day interview, that's fine, but for a full-day documentary run you'll need a secondary pack or a mount solution. The monitor does have a power-save mode that drops brightness to 500 nits, extending life to about 5 hours, but you lose some of that daylight punch. I found myself swapping batteries once during a 12-hour shoot, which isn't a deal-breaker, but is something to factor into your gear budget. Stabilization-wise, the Ultra 7 doesn't add much weight, it's about 300 grams, so it sits nicely on most gimbals without throwing off balance. The mounting plate is solid, with a standard 20-thread and a quick-release latch that clicks into place without wobble. I tested it on a DJI Ronin SC, and the motor didn't struggle to maintain its smoothness, even when I cranked up the brightness to full. That said, the monitor's glass screen is a bit reflective in low light, so if